G'day guys, I just thought I'd have a bit of a browse on eBay. I've been writing up a guide to say the first 10 years of Japanese phone cards. And so I'm going to try and look for examples where the information is wrong. You know, say they might have the the graders might have put the wrong year. Now, it doesn't really matter because, I mean, in the sense that the grade is about the condition. But one of the reasons I actually started, I wanted to make a guide, was because of a Dragon Quest phone card that said 1986 on it, but it wasn't. And it was $1,000. And I wanted to buy it, but and I'm glad I held off, because the longer I held off and just kept learning, I held off because it was $1,000, and in that meantime I just kept collecting and probably spent $1,000 on other cards. But it was long enough to realise that it actually wasn't from 1986, and the first thing that made that click was that the barcodes weren't on the backs of phone cards in 1986. And so that's why I ended up I'm writing the guide, which is nearly done, but I still feel like if a phone card will come along that that'll ruin everything I thought, all my ideas. But I will say it is based on, I bought the Mooks, Gakken Mooks. They were guides from contemporary at the times. I bought the 1988, the 1990, 1991, and another one might be 1995. And so they are guides by the Japanese collectors. But the problem also with them, and they include the free phone cards, because I'm specifically collecting, they were free. They were given away. They're promotional phone cards. And the problem with these all these guides and the Gakken Mooks and that is that it seems that the video game phone cards, I'm sure people were collecting them, but they weren't really popular. The focus is there seems to be a lot more known about, the cards that might be like Japanese shrines and all that. So there seems to be, and I could be wrong, but I haven't. It appears that way to me, that there's a lot more known about the other phone cards, and the video game ones were left to the side in a sense. I can find. I think there's. I found. There's the earlier Namcot ones are in the guide. Ultimas are in the guide up to 4. There's 2, 3, and 4 are definitely in it from memory. But then after a few years, I just noticed that the video game ones just aren't even in any of them. So anyway, that's why I started making the guide, and the fact that I think the dates do play a part, even though grading is about the grade, and the date, the information, they just made a mistake, and it doesn't really matter. I think it is something that matters if you are looking for vintage early and are prepared to pay $1,000 for a card, and then you buy it and find out that it wasn't from 1986 and it has a barcode. So it's definitely, I would consider it an anniversary card of because of, at that point, the then popularity of Dragon Quest. So anyway, sorry for rambling. I've gone completely off track of what I was planning to do. By the way, I really have got distracted. There's a Chun-Li. Where is it? Where are we? Somewhere up here. Chun-Li. Gamist card. Well, it doesn't even matter. but so obviously that someone's grading gamers. But I see the Chun-Li one seems to be, I don't know, more uncommon, I guess. I seen all the other characters of the Gamist Street Fighter 2 collection. I've seen all the other ones except for Chun-Li and Ryu. They were the last two that I seen. So, again, take everything I say with a grain of salt, especially with rarity, because I really have no idea. The common conception, the common idea is that sort of nothing's rare in Japan. There's heaps of it. It appears that way at first glance, but that's why I get specific about the earlier phone cards, just because of how they were released and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I don't really know how rare any of the stuff is. I want to go over there. I want to find a Japanese forum or something. I just can't find anything online, like a Japanese community of specifically video game, like the video game phone card collectors. So, by the way, I am skipping a few, going pretty quickly here, but yeah, all these prices, I don't know. I still think that there's a good chance you could still get a few tens out. I mean, the collectors did take care of them. All they do is sit in a slip, so. And this is why I do like the earlier stuff, as with anything. Although they're released as, I guess, collectibles in the sense, phone cards were always, they were considered when they first came to Australia. I remember they pushed the idea of collecting them as well. But I just lost my track of thought. Let's get back to this. Yeah, a lot of this stuff, it doesn't really interest me. I want to see like the Namco cards, and it really bothers me that I haven't seen any of the Namco cards or Tecmo or anything graded, because then I wonder, are they grading them? But I did look in the PSA population report, and there was one Tecmo one in there, and I think it was a wrestling one, and it said something about a summer campaign or something, and I think maybe does everything have to be attached to some kind of campaign? Because I don't think, they were attached to launch campaigns. So there's magazines, competitions, and then just the free ones. And so the free ones, you would consider it a launch campaign. But again, it was the publishers. It was like Sega themselves just getting a card printed up with NTT to promote the card. So they're all, like, I consider them all the ones contemporary. Like if you, this again with the guide, this is why I'm doing it, because the backs of them give you a better idea of when they were made rather than the front. And I just, where are we? I really am losing my train of thought with all this sort of stuff. I came on here to do one thing, and all I've talked about is, although I did come here, I want to point out, that is what I'm doing. We're having a browse, and I want to point out, I want to find one with the wrong date on it. There you go, 6,000. Now, you could still get them, obviously. And that's the thing, I still think there's a chance for Teds. But again, these foil ones do go a bit spotty, and they scratch easier, they seem. And when I say foil, I mean like the gold or silver, stuff like that. They do definitely are harder to get. There's a spottiness that can happen. But I think there's some chances of 10s, It'd be easier if I lived in Japan and could speak Japanese and find out information. But that is my impression. But it's just the earlier and earlier it gets, it just becomes just harder. And, to my surprise, as I look at all these as, some kind of collectible from the beginning, it just blows my mind that you find punched ones that have been used. But again, that is it. Like I said before, it does seem that there were collectors that were collecting them. They're still around, like the cards are around, so people were collecting them, and there's a market still, always has been. But I think they just sort of got left behind, as opposed to the more like the historical, the photography ones. That is my feeling. Please, if you actually know the history of these phone cards in Japan, I'd love to be able to find out from a collector of my age, of the age older than me, who was collecting them and was interested in particularly the video game ones, because I'd just love to find out. It's and at first glance it seems that there's a phone card for every video game, but then it's not really. It's more about that, we're just lucky that all these video games that we all enjoy were pretty much all made in Japan. They're all Japanese companies. So yeah, so you'll find it's like Technos, Tecmo. There's heaps of them. There's all these companies, NX, Square. And so it appears, from what I understand, that they have, it's just a direct publishing deal for a promotional phone card with NTT. They pay NTT to print out a set amount and just give them away as a launch thing. And then there's the magazine campaigns. I am interested in the gamers and all that, but at the moment I'm not spending my money on the magazine ones. Someone out there should, if they're not already, start doing it. Start, make a catalogue of them. Because that's what I love about collecting. Although you can't afford to buy everything, but you got to make lists. There's got to be lists. Lists help. Lists are also what gets other collectors. It helps other collectors. And so yeah, I'm in the middle of making a guide, and I want to make a website as well. So at some point. But all I keep doing is just buying the cards and not recording YouTube videos, and so I'm really trying to focus on making a collector thing for collectors that want to collect phone cards. Or the Star Wars ones are really common. There's so many. I need to make a beginner's guide to just like the beginner mistakes. Like you'll see a phone card for $100. It's the only one out of 30,000 phone cards. It's the only one on there. You'll look at eBay. There'll be no sold listings, and you'll think, oh, right, it must be rare. You'll convince yourself it's rare. You'll buy it, and then you'll realise pretty quickly that more get listed. But again, I will say that like similar things to like that have happened to me, and it's not like 1,000 more get listed. It's like 1, 2, maybe 3. In some cases, you sort of think, you just think, all right, there's a few, but a couple more still doesn't mean it's, not rare. It still doesn't mean the market suddenly gets flooded. But it definitely pulls some out of the woodworks, and it's great when they don't, when you buy something and then you don't see any listed and still don't. That is great. And that's because it can be demotivating to spend a bunch of money with, again, these proxy services. There's everything. It all costs more. Add another $10 per card, or that's Australian dollars. I was saying, so add another $10 per card by the time you get it back. And so it can be not that motivating when you feel you just spend a bunch of money, think it's rare, and then more get listed. But again, it's not heaps more. It's still, if these became a big thing, I think a lot of the video game stuff would sort of dry up. That will be my impression, because again, I still, right now, you can't buy all the Namco ones that I have. So I've got more Namco cards right now that are online. There's only, say, 5 or 6, and there's doubles and all that. So you can't immediately just buy an entire set of Namco sort of thing. So, they have to come out of the woodwork, and then that's when it comes down to condition. And that's why I love the idea that you can grade phone cards. And I just wish I started seeing the phone cards that I collect get graded, because it's not really, although all these ones, yeah, for sure. Eventually I'll get all these 64 ones and all that, the N64 ones. But right now I'm just not going for, I consider myself a single notch collector at the moment. I was going to buy this when I first started. I think there was 2 of them listed, and he put the price up anyway, so I should have, because it was less than that. They both were. I must have kept on looking at it, and he thought, oh shit, it's going to sell, and put the price up. This is a Final Fantasy one. All the Pokemon ones. You can't be looking at phone cards without seeing Dragon Ball or Pokemon. And then all, the hentai. But yeah, Dragon Ball and Pokemon are they're just everywhere. And then after that, in the video game section, it's like, Street Fighter. When you see them, when Street Fighters they're all bunched together, it's like, yep, someone's selling a bunch of them. Anyway, I want to find this dragon. I'm just going to search, I think. This one is correct. It is 1986. Maybe that's what I should have done with the video, is just all the ones that I'm interested in, that I actually own and have looked at the backs of. And, so yes, this is 1987. But anyway, I will say that I didn't know about these Japanese guides, the Gakken Mooks, until about 10 months or 11 months into me collecting. And by that time, I'd actually using the movie phone cards I bought, because it's just easier, they're cheaper. And so using them, I kind of had worked out from when movies came out and then what the back style is, the back type is. And so I'd kind of just worked this out, and about 5 weeks later, I'd in that time I'd ordered the Gakken Mooks, and about 5 weeks later they came, and I realised that it seems to be pretty much, I had the right idea going. The Mooks go into more, one of them goes into more detail, but again, they document the free phone cards and have pictures of them, but the focus is really not the free ones, and the ones that aren't free have the date written on the back. It's such a shame the free ones don't. The other ones literally have the date that it was printed, the 1st of the 7th, 1986. It literally got it on there. But not these free video game ones. And again, that is specifically what I am collecting. It's the free ones. The free ones. I own one Mega Man. It's a Mega Man X3 phone card that has a different, so there's the free barcode ending in 115. That's the free one. This is not the free one, so I'd love to find out where it came from. but it appears to have not been a free promotional one, and different from a magazine free one. So I don't think it came from a magazine, but again, I could be wrong, It's pretty hard collecting something when you don't live there. And we had phone cards in Australia, but like I don't. They weren't video game related. Although I collect phone cards, I actually consider myself, it's the video game side of it that has my interest. Which I'm sorry to say to the true purists. But I totally think that there needs to be purists in every, like, true hobbyist in every hobby. But it is the video game stuff that got my attention, and I knew about the Ninja Gaiden, the first one, from Tecmo years ago. Like, I'm talking 10 years ago. I'd seen it, I knew about it, just with collecting, like buying old Nintendo games, but I didn't know about proxy servers. That's the weird thing. I didn't know proxy buyers and that. And so I don't know how I found out. Someone, I guess, posted one on a forum, but I just had no idea that you could actually, just get a third party. I had no idea about that. Here we go, PSA 10 Zapdos. I don't collect Pokemon ones at all, but if I did, and if I had the money, I would 100% buy the 3 of these Tropical Mega Battle promos. 100%. There's another one, 50,000. There was a seller in Malaysia when I first started that had the 3 of them. It was PSA 10s. What's that? I've never seen that. Yeah, 3 pairs. Oh, I see what's going on. Three of them, PSA 10s, 50,000. That was 50,000 US dollars, and it was in Malaysia, I think it was. It said on the where the seller was from. So although I don't really, I don't really spend money on the Pokemon ones, although I do have a couple of Japanese rail. Every time I see that JR, my head goes to Junior. The Japanese rail orange cards, I got some Pokemon ones. But I would buy those if I had the money to do it. I would have already got them. I would have got them ages ago, and I would have started probably buying doubles and grading more of them, as you do. There you go. There's a cheaper one, and it's not the sample. So that's what I've noticed. The common version has sample here. So, but yes, as I said, I was going to buy that when I first started, but I didn't. And I'm glad I did. I mean, I don't really, it was more of a speculation. I was completely enamored by all these cards, even outside of video game ones. I just couldn't believe that I didn't know about them, although I did. I did know. I had seen the Ninja Gaiden one, but I was completely blown away, and it was like I could see a new thing every time I searched. There's O.J. Simpson ones, guilty, not guilty, the cereal ones, the friggin' Sprint. And so the people in the US would know about these, but, they had the Sprint where you could buy packs of them like cards, and the McDonald's ones. I just couldn't believe it. But then when I stumbled across the Japanese ones, man, did that blow my mind. And it's just a shame that there isn't one for every single game that ever existed, but there's still definitely the ones that would be associated with grails in video games, and that, there's still, I really do think that even though a lot of these prices right now are just sort of silly, I do think that it hasn't happened quite yet for phone cards, but I think it's going to. And then I'll regret buying all the Star Wars ones, right? And I'll regret buying more movie ones because they are so cheap. They're almost, I mean, right now they're like you really got to want the movie, right now I couldn't see myself making my money back on what I've spent because of all the, the proxy stuff going on. But that's why you really do have to truly collect something that means something, and phone cards certainly didn't mean anything, but the video games do, and the idea that they're from the Japanese publishers that made them, promoting them at the time, just, to me, it's got all the organic stuff going, and it's video games from when I think are the most collectible. It's the early stuff. It's the 8-bit and 16-bit era. Anyway, lots of Pokemon. There's more Nagatanian there. That is... yeah, I've never seen them sell for that price. Maybe they have been selling, but they were all like $70 US, 120 and all that, with no bids and that, really, for, I mean, it was, and when I say all of them, like, I've been watching it for ages. It's only been a couple of years, and I certainly wasn't watching all of them, but I had started buying graded phone cards, and I was winning them as the only bidder for $70 US, maybe 90 US. I think I spent 140 and 150 on the orange cards. And then, I don't know, I guess, they were noticed, and now all the prices have just gone a bit silly. But I will say that the Pokemon ones and a lot of the anime ones definitely they're all selling. Like, it is an active market, but I'm just not seeing as the story with everything, not seeing the things that I collect aren't really happening. But again, I just think I didn't know about them, and as soon as I seen some of these phone cards, it's like, you're gonna want them. They are just, it's unbelievable. Some of these, it just blows my mind how cool they are, and that they are, from then and there, the launch of what became a classic, and yeah, so I've never seen this this card pop up. I don't really, although, I don't really keep an eye on Pokemon, but I know the first few, I had a look, the first few Pokemon cards, phone cards I looked into, and yeah, I haven't seen that one. I think that is the first time I've seen that one for sale. So I don't know what it's worth, but I guess the seller knows more about it than me anyway, no matter what it's worth. I'll list it at. There you go, 1985. Now, I will say, I do consider all of the ones like with this back as 1985, but that back did run into 1986 as well, until like April 1986. The Japanese financial year, I think, is April, maybe. But so I definitely, in a way, you almost don't need a guide if the card runs alongside the timeline, but you need a guide with when the title is popular and there's anniversary cards and they keep using it. They're like milking the title. That's when you kind of want a guide to know which is the earliest ones. Even if it's got 1980 copyright 1986 on the front of the card, that's doesn't matter. That's just the artwork. Anyway, this Dragon Ball one, I haven't seen it yet. So instead of looking at the cards, you can buy this for cheaper, ungraded. All the Zelda ones you could right now probably buy now. Or if they're not all listed, if the sellers start seeing the Zeldas selling, you will see them pop up. They're definitely around. And I'm not going to say they're rare, common, or uncommon. I'm going to say that if there was enough people buying everything, I just think things would dry up anyway, because, if all the people collecting Pokemon started collecting the cards, I think you would see, I mean, the earlier you go back before it was a phenomenon, that's just the way it is. It doesn't, there still might be thousands, but there will be way more later on. And so again, that's why I don't really collect Pokemon. This card sold a few months ago for 24,000, I think it was. But I didn't really pay attention to it, so maybe it wasn't the PSA 10. Maybe it wasn't even PSA. I can't remember. But anyway, the new type and dragons, I would collect them if they already weren't expensive. The dragons, there's definitely a market for them before I ever came across them. And that is what I also like. Even if you buy something and it gets relisted and you feel a bit disappointed that, oh shit, I thought it might have been rare, but it wasn't. Just remember that there is a market there, or when you pay $50 for something and see that one sells, or one doesn't even get a bid at $4.95 or whatever, you'll be disheartened. But again, I just think people don't really know about them. And with all of them, it doesn't, when they pop up again, it doesn't really mean, or don't get bids on them, it doesn't it doesn't mean that they're common. It doesn't mean they're rare, it doesn't mean they're common. But I don't want to, I know more about production numbers and all that for the earlier stuff, but I don't really want to say it. I want to keep it for the guide. But that's what it's all about. The earlier it is, before, so all the games that have a launch promotion for it, they weren't the phenomenon that they were. And so even if there's, hundreds or thousands, a lot of them would have got punched, would have got used. And then, so it's just a condition thing. It's a condition thing, and the earlier you go back, it is just a harder and harder thing to find. Every card, well, a lot of cards I've bought, I have already seen another one, but there are a bunch of cards I've bought that I haven't seen ever pop up since. So I'm going to actually type in Dragon Quest. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Was it a BGS? Hold on. So one-hand finger typing. Where I would like to find this, and also if I find it, I'm not hanging shit on the company. It's just hard to know this stuff unless you live over there. So there's obviously been demand to start grading the cards. And so they started grading them, and the card has 1986 on the front of it. Hey, that would be right. 1988, I think that is right. But where the hell is it? Expensive. It was $1,000. So where is it? Oh, sorry, hold on. I need to be in .com.au. I need to be logged in. Damn it. BGS Dragon Quest phone card. So, geez, I just think that everyone, the whole site must be about phone cards. Right. Ooh. Righto. What's going on? Has this changed? Is that all? Where the heck is... Anyway. Right. Lots of Dragon Quest. Can't find any BGS. I can't sort it the way I want to sort it. Damn. I guess it's, geez, someone bought it. Well, I hope, you know. I used to, every day, I was looking at phone cards, I was doing full searches every day for like a year, I reckon. And so I'm not really doing that anymore. That is cool. I've never seen that. I don't actively search for V-Jump and that, but all the Dragon Quest comes up in all my searches. So I've never seen that one. What is that one? That mustn't be a phone card. Jeez, so it's not there. All right, now I just want to find it. I just want to find this. It's a hollow, I guess, I don't know, would you call it hologram Dragon Quest card. And it has copyright 1986 on it, but a barcode on the back. So that's where, you know, there you go. There's the collector reveal for today, for this video, out of the guide. What is out of the guide is that if it's got a barcode, it is definitely 1989 and maybe a bit in 1988. If it's got a barcode on the back of it, it is not 1985, 86, or 87. And then I think it gets a bit mixed in 88. That's where the transition happens. So there you go. If out of all my quick scrolling and missing everything and have really done nothing to do with what I wanted to do, that is what I was getting at, is that there was just, it's quite simple. It's not, I'm not having a dig at the graders or anything, but it said, because it said, copyright 1986 down here. They just must have put that there, and it had a barcode, So look at it. Oh, here's another thing. This is a barcode, but a single notch. So this is before, we'll say the end of 1992. There you go. If you stuck around long enough, you got a couple of things that are in the guide, and I've spent a lot of money, and I believe I do really good research, and that's from when I no longer collect video games and no longer even have the collection, but I really learnt a lot of how to collect, because I collected video games for 10 years. And so, I'd love to talk to a Japanese collector or someone that knows exactly about all this, but that is what I was getting at. If the date on it, if you want truly, vintage, look at that. Scat. This is Scat. Final Mission was released as Scat, and it's been punched. It blows my mind. But again, that's great. I love it, because then you have to find the unpunched one. Yeah, if you probably you need to know, because it can be a big disappointment and disheartening if you collect. You go and spend $1,000 because the graders have written 1986. So you spend $1,000, and it's just not from 1986, quite simply because of the barcode. But again, I didn't know that at the start. They certainly don't know it. It makes sense how they done it. It's unless I had the movie ones. I'm glad I wouldn't do it again. I would buy all the movie ones. I'd be more select with the ones I got. But I'm glad I did, because I just had, between them and the video game ones I had, it was kind of enough to get a good idea and to know that, yeah, I'm glad I didn't buy the graded Dragon Quest card, because it wasn't nine. I would have $1,000. I would have bought it already if it was from 1986. I reckon, maybe, or maybe not. You still see them around, but that's not the point. The point is, I'm glad I didn't, because the big part of being okay with spending $1,000 on that is that it would be a true vintage 1986, where I consider in the first releases sort of thing. So anyway, I think I'm going to just stop the video here, because the whole point's been missed. But I think I'm just going to upload it as it is, and I am making a guide. It's almost ready. I just need to scan a few more things, because that's I can't use everyone else's scans and all that sort of thing. But it's the information in the book. I think I'm going to release a light version where it'll just be the backs and the information about, the backs, barcodes and production numbers, and then I'll have the full version, which will have pictures of the cards as well. For the people that like to stare at pictures like me, that is actually what I like to do. That's my kind of guide. But I also want it to be a proper guide until someone in Japan that collects them comes along and says, "No, this is where you're wrong," because I really have. I save just about every single phone card I see that I'm interested in, and look at the backs of them. Everyone that's got a back, I see. I really try and see if I'm right or wrong. And I will say, unfortunately, there are some examples, like I said before, about the non-free phone cards had the date printed. Well, there's a couple of Namco cards that have the date printed. Now, does that mean, in my impression from these mooks, the Gakken mooks, is that free cards didn't? So does that mean, did they just get slipped into the mix and that's them, or is that like a print over a different card? And then if it is a print over a different card, is it a fake, or is that, say, NTT using stock from, say, an account that didn't get paid, and therefore, they know Namco will easily use it, so therefore they just let them use it? These are all the questions that I don't know. I want to know. And these are the things that, if someone comes along and my guide becomes nothing and it's just all wrong, well, I can definitely say from my perspective, I've got it pretty good. It all makes sense. And if it's wrong, well, then I certainly made a good effort, and, it is what it is. All right. Thanks for watching.